And Ibn Hajar, he said something very powerful once. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and I want you to listen to this hadith carefully. He said, this life that we live in is a prison. It's a prison for the believer, and it's a paradise. It's a garden for the one who rejects Allah. So Ibn Hajar, there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So Ibn Hajar, one day he's making his way through the streets of Egypt, and he's, by the way, a very, very wealthy, well-known scholar. He's very wealthy, okay? So his clothing reflects that, and he's riding a horse, and he walks by on his horse somebody who looks like they could use some help, and they're sitting on the side of the road, and they call him over and they say, hey, aren't you that guy who knows a bunch of hadith? He goes, yeah. And he said, I have a question for you. He goes, sure. He tells me, he goes, I reject Allah. That's how he starts. Strong start, right? Because I reject Allah. And he goes, but I want you to tell me something. I heard a narration from your prophet where he said that this life is a prison for you guys, and it's a garden, it's a Jannah for me. And he goes, look at you, look at me. How do you explain that? He goes, look at you. You're rich. You have a horse. You're doing well. You're good. And he goes, look at me. I'm sitting on the side of the road, and I'm kind of like crashing out right now, yelling at a Muslim guy on a horse. So he goes, look at our differences. And in Hajar, he says to him, no, you're not understanding the hadith. And the guy's like, oh, is there like more to it? He goes, no, you got it right. You memorized it. And he goes, what is it then? He says, what the hadith is saying is not definite, but relative. He said that no matter what kind of life a person has in this dunya, if they submit and believe in Allah, then this life, no matter how good it was, will feel like a prison. No matter how good you had. When you compare your Jannah to this life, you're going to be like, man, the dunya was bad. Doesn't matter how many good things you had. When you enter into paradise, you're going to look back and be like, that place was so bad. It was not worth it. And then he said, the opposite is true. That no matter how good somebody has it in this life, if they reject their purpose, remember the question, what is my purpose? If they reject that story in their life, then he says, no matter how bad their afterlife, no matter how tough the hellfire is, this life will always be a garden for them, because look at their end realization or their end result. And so Ibn Hajar taught us in that moment that the perspective helps pull us out of these tough times, that we have to come to this realization that guess this life as it stands, no matter how tough things are, I'm going to get through this moment, and there will come a time when the chronic, constant ups and downs of this life will eventually end. It will eventually end. In 100 years, one of the statements that shakes me every time I hear it, in 100 years from today, nobody in this room will be alive. Doesn't matter how many cold plunges you did. Nobody will be here. In 100 years, everyone in this room statistically will be gone. And that realization can be depressing. It can be dark, but it can also be something that gives you a sense of calm. That, you know what? Maybe not getting into that grad program isn't the end of my existence. Maybe not being married at this very second right now doesn't determine whether or not I'm a failure or I'm a success. Or not having the job that my parents thought that I was going to have. Or not doing this or not doing... Maybe that's not all that there is. And maybe there's something deeper. And the moment we realize that, yes, there is something deeper is the moment that we find that success. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give us that